bear with me one moment. And welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I'm Joey Calvo. Before we get to our guest today, I need to take a moment and have a chat with New Jersey 101.5. If anybody of New Jersey 101.5 that's still there is listening, you just kicked your ratings to the curb by letting go one of your great radio personalities in Steve Trevelise. I mean, don't get me wrong, I will still listen to the station when I get the opportunity, but I was upset when you let this gentleman go. He's a great personality, and I just feel in my own personal words that you kicked your ratings to the curb at nighttime. So that was my 2 cents on that. And Steve, if you do watch this video, you know I'm there for you. You know you're welcome to come on this podcast when you're ready. Now to our guest today. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, board certified in applied behavior analysis. She's also a licensed psychotherapist and a board certified behavioral analyst based in Camarillo, California. She has her own practice as well. And she wrote a book in April 2021 called You're Not Crazy, Living with Anxiety, Obsessions, and Fetishes. I'd like to introduce you to Laurie SInger. Laurie, welcome to the podcast, first of all.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So mainly what I do is, of course, I'm going to ask you how you got started. What led you to where you're at right now? So the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I actually, this was not a plan of mine to receive the education that I have and to open my own practice. My life took a turn when my son, who's 2 years old, passed away of cancer. And so I, at that time, I didn't know it, but I had ADHD. I had a 5-year-old daughter, and my 2-year-old son had just passed away of cancer. So my life forever changed. And I wanted, being in the hospital, living with him in the hospital, I knew that I wanted to help other families. I just didn't know how. And I was such a horrible student growing up because I was never diagnosed and I never got the resources that I needed. And so I barely graduated high school. And I had started running and doing quite well after the birth of my daughter and placing in races. And the local cross-country coach from our area had asked me to come and run for the college, but I didn't see myself doing that because I was such a horrible student. Mm-hmm. After my son passed, I thought, why not go back to school? Might as well do something. And so I applied the same skills that I used for running races to studying. And I was able to graduate the junior college as valedictorian and move on to UCLA. And, I just kept going forward. And how that transpired into my work life is that I ended up working with individuals with developmental disabilities and helping families and writing behavioral plans and just helping them. So that's how my career as a licensed therapist and behavioral analyst took off, is helping individuals and their families. Mm-hmm. And what I also did was I read the book When Bad Things Happen to Good People, which is an excellent book. And in that book, it says when you have a child who passes away, that it's a good idea to do some type of a memorial, whether it's a charity fundraiser or whatever you would like to do to memorialize that person. And so what my husband and I did was we put a fundraiser together for Children's Hospital just a few months after his passing, a run. And we donated all the money to Children's Hospital, but we donated it to the cancer floor, and it was to buying the kids toys. Because when my daughter would go there, she would have nothing to play with. There would be like Mr. Potato Head with one eye, or 3 VCR machines. There was nothing there. So throughout the years, what we actually developed was a child life program at Children's Hospital. And the child life program, yes, it's amazing. And the child life program provides children that are staying there and their siblings a place to go where no doctors can be there to perform any tests. It helps the siblings work through having a brother or sister who's either dying of cancer or going through cancer treatment. It helps the child themselves who may be dying or going through treatment, and how to work through that grief. And so we're very, very proud. We're very, very proud of that.
Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry that you got cut off.
That's okay.
Yeah. We have something like that here. I don't know if you ever heard of Alex's Lemonade Stand.
I've heard of here in the Ventura County area. We have somebody's lemonade stand. I'm not sure whose it is, but I know that they raise money for individuals that have cancer. Is that correct? Different people? Yeah.
And they for all the treatments, and they also have a separate little thing where they actually help the child get transported to like Philadelphia or wherever they need the treatment to get to be cancer free. They just had the telethon here in Philadelphia for it last month, and they do that every June. So
okay, yeah, ours was more. Yeah, what we wanted to do was because our son pretty much lived at the hospital. And our daughter would come and visit. And while he was there wasn't really anything for him to do. So, or our daughter. And so we wanted to see, how can we make the people that are at the hospital, how can we make these kids, their life a little bit better while they're here, because they spend so much time at the hospital.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like what Alex's Lemonade Stand does too, in reference to that. So that's great. So, all right. So you went from not being great in high school to the passing of your son, and I my condolences on that happening, and really taking that step from there, and going into setting up a foundation type.
Yes, that's right. For my son,
process,
and exactly
for your son, in honor of your son, and then leading you from there into working with the developmental disabilities, which I actually did when I first got married in 2001 till 2008. I worked with the mentally disabled as well. So but I didn't. Of course, I didn't. I was there for some of those plans, IPP plans and stuff. So sitting down for some of them. So I was used to that. And then from there, you went back to college and became where you're at right now. So
yes, and now we're helping hundreds of families in our area, because I have a staff of 25 individuals. Okay. And so we are helping a tremendous amount of people in our area. And my contract with the county of Ventura is for individuals who are 18 and older. And so it's a lot of life transitions. They're out of high school, and what do they do from there? Some of them actually go to college, and we help with that transition. And some of them go to post-secondary school, where they stay at the high school longer. We help on the job site, whatever it is, whatever they're having difficulty with. And a lot of times, anxiety exhibits itself in different ways, where it could manifest in behavioral problems. It could be aggression. It could be non-compliance, not doing things. It like I said, it expresses itself differently in different people. So if we can get to what is the function of their behavior and get them to recognize cognitively how to deal with it differently, and then maybe change something in the environment, then
Okay.
we're on the road to success.
Okay. So in April 2021, you wrote a book called "You're Not Crazy: Living with Anxiety, Obsessions, and Fetishes,"
Correct.
and and based off the and yes, folks, I actually did this time. Normally, I don't research guests. Okay. Okay. So you're using case studies um, from your practice, and you deliver it in the way that it's written here in a digestible narrative format, and including worksheets designed for the individual to take control of their lives. The book's goal is to help those who suffer deeply from anxiety and mental health concerns. Okay, so let's go a little more into the book. Um, in those case studies that you used for the book, of those, which really threw you out the most, that you of them that you really wanted to make sure was in this book?
Gosh, I had so many to draw from, Joey. I mean, there were so many cases that I have that it was hard to figure out what people would kind of resonate with. I think
Mhm.
that in there's 6 case studies in the book,
Okay.
and each of them for a different diagnosis. We have one for panic attacks, excoriation, which is skin picking, and that's under the OCD behavior.
Right.
Excoriation is very common. Skin picking, I have clients come in all the time that self mutilate with skin picking. And agoraphobia,
Mhm.
where you're afraid to go out of the house, or afraid to the fear is so real that you end up not going anywhere, engaging in any job. You might quit your job, quit school, all of those things. Obsessive compulsive disorder,
Mhm.
which can take a form of many different things. And all of these everybody comes to my office when it becomes debilitating, when they
Mhm.
are stuck in their life and they feel like they can't do anything.
Okay.
Then we have the fetishism and conversion disorder. All of these cases, I tried to pick one that people could maybe identify with a certain part of, maybe not the whole thing, but they might say, oh yes, I know that's happened to me, or I see myself in that.
Mhm.
Or they
Mhm.
might see that they're going towards that way and they want to stop it. The reason why I wrote the book was because the the techniques that we use are so successful
Mhm.
that I wanted to be able to share that with everybody, so that if they couldn't come in to see me, that they could at least write a plan on their own and follow it. And as you
Okay.
said, the treatment plan is in the back. The tools are there. They can just copy them and use them from the book.
Okay.
Um, and I think what sets my practice apart is that I use 2 different modalities. I use the cognitive behavioral therapy and
Okay.
behavioral therapy, and those are
Okay.
2 different modalities that we combine together.
Okay. All right. So getting back into the book and to the first question that I gave you in advance. Um, Now I sent her 2 questions in advance. One is actually from me. The second one is anonymous. Um, so the first question that I had for you was, what is actually the difference between an obsession and a fetish?
Well, obsession, obsessive compulsive disorder. An obsession is when you want to engage in a behavior, when you engage in a behavior where it just goes over in your mind over and over again.
Mhm.
Let's say, for example, well, like the one in the book is, and which I have many clients like this still,
Mhm.
is repetitive hand washing. Like you wash your hands and then you turn off the water and you think, did I wash my hands? I need to wash them again. And then you
Mhm.
stop, and then so the obsession is the thought of washing your hands. The
Mhm.
compulsion is actually following through with washing your hands. Um, and if it becomes debilitating, if you're spending an hour and a half in the bathroom because you can't leave, because you continue to turn on the water, wash your hands, and then turn it off again, and then turn it on again, and someone's
Mhm.
pounding on the door, what are you doing? I'm washing your hands. Well, how many times have you washed them? I don't know, but I feel like I need to continue washing them.
Right. Right.
So So that's different than a fetish.
Okay.
A fetish, in the DSM, which is a Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Health Disorders, is a diagnosis. Individuals who experience sexual arousal from objects or specific part of the body, which is not typically regarded as erotic. Almost any body part or object can be a fetish.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. And like I said, when I introduced when I before we started, um, I gave her a compliment. I also apologized to her at the end because um, I'm into long hair women. So that's kind of why I apologized to you at the end after I gave you the compliment, because I was, I didn't want to make you uncomfortable for that, even though it's an acceptable compliment, but I've done it where I've complimented someone, and they take one look at me and they're like, you're freaking me out for it. So that's why I try to watch what I say when I do that. But that's one thing that I have.
well, I think the problem, yeah, the one thing with, so I think, what I've worked with a lot of individuals that have different fetishes,
Mhm.
and typically they come to see me is when they've crossed the line. And what I mean by cross the line is, I'll
Mhm.
give you an example of somebody who, a male individual who likes to wear women's clothing or lingerie, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start to hang out in your apartment building in the dryer, in the laundry room, and start to take other people's laundry and
Mhm.
lingerie, then you've
Yeah.
crossed the line and you're
Yeah.
going to get arrested.
Mhm.
Complaints or kicked out of your apartment. So people
Mhm.
will come to see me when they've, like I said, they've gotten themselves into trouble with the law,
Mhm.
or they feel that they're on the fence and they're going in that direction. What
Mhm.
do they do? So we talk about that. We come up with a plan for them to, if they are going to continue with their fetish, how do they stay safe and keep
Mhm.
others around them safe?
Right. Okay. All right. And the other question that the anonymous question is, I gotta pull it up because I had to write it down. Why people have superheroine fetishes?
Well, do you think it's a fetish, a superhero fetish, or do you think it's that people look up to superheroes? Because
The
that's
way
something different.
it's the question, the way the question was asked to me to bring to you is, why do people have superheroine? I think it's more, why are why people are obsessed with superheroines.
Right. So those are two different questions. And I
Okay.
think the interesting thing about that is, I will tell you that a couple of years ago, I hiked part of the Appalachia Trail up in Tennessee and North Carolina. And when I first arrived to Tennessee, I noticed that there was a lot of adults that were dressed in costumes, like real costumes, like My Little Pony and a bunch of different, I don't know, characters.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And at first they kind of brushed it off. And I said, because I'm knowledgeable on it, I said, "Oh, are you kind of a part of bronies?" Which is adults who like to dress up as the My Little Pony characters.
Mhm.
And they said, "Well, actually, we're kind of like that." So it was a convention for
Mhm.
adults, and they were meeting at a hotel, at a place where they could feel safe
Mhm.
and have just a party as they were dressed in their character.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, I thought. Here they're doing something completely legal.
Mhm.
They met up from all over the United States. Some came from Canada just
Wow.
to hang out with these people that they have been in touch with. I think it's a great thing when you can do something healthy and not feel ashamed of it, and be able to connect with these people online,
Mhm.
not doing anything illegal, and then
Mhm.
hook up once a year at a place where you get to meet up with them and dressed in your favorite character. So,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
think that's interesting.
Okay. So the one you saw was the My Little Ponies, and not like Wonder Woman or
No,
Supergirl.
no, they were more childlike characters, I believe, but they
Okay.
were adults dressed in
Okay.
these costumes.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
other the other question that you had about as far as superheroes, I love superhero movies. Okay.
Okay.
I don't have a fetish towards them, but I love them. I think I
Mhm.
like it. The reason why I like it personally is because it takes me away from the real world. You know, it takes
Okay.
me into a world of make believe, and
Mhm.
it leads me to believe that there are good people out there looking out for civilization, because that's what the superheroes do. They're always defending the earth. They're
Mhm.
defending the people, you know, and that's what I like about it.
Oh, oh, I'll definitely know that this anonymous person that sent me that question will love that answer, especially what you just gave. Um, but like I said, I grew up watching Wonder Woman, and like I said, I think I think what it was with me is watching Wonder Woman, and then into the long hair, kind of blended it in, and then, um, but I focus more on it's like most of the relationships I've had were with long haired women, and I think just I, that fetish alone I had, um, practically, um, just intrigues me, and especially like you said when it comes to the sexuality and all that. Um, so I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm into long haired women.
Yeah,
Um,
but just because you're into long-haired women doesn't mean you have a fetish for long hair, unless, of course, you were buying wigs or made any partner that you had wear a long-haired wig, and you could only be aroused by somebody that was had a long-haired wig on. I mean, those are, that's what a fetish is.
okay. So then mine wouldn't be considered a fetish then, because I don't go out and buy wigs and
Right. So you're right. So that would not be
mine's more the natural
right.
long hair.
So that's not right. So that wouldn't be like we've had individuals that have been had fetishes with shoes, and so you go into their room and there's just like 300 pairs of shoes because that's how they become sexually aroused is by the shoes. So it's different. You're right, Joey. So you might just be attracted to women with long hair, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have, we all have our what we're attracted to in a person, right?
Okay, okay, all right, all right. So we got all right. So now we've learned that my fetish is not really a fetish. Okay, um, and that took 50. That took about 40 some years to figure that out. Okay, all right. So in the in when you so let's go into the most recent case stories that were not in the book.
Okay.
Um, do you and this, like I said, whatever you feel comfortable sharing in reference to, um, it in the most recent since COVID, what have you seen more cases of?
Anxiety.
Okay, anxiety. Okay, so
Anxiety
more
from any age. Yeah,
from
yeah.
any, so more of
There's been a lot
being
of
cooped
anxiety, and it
up. She's muted. This is how
what was
good.
that, Joey?
Yeah, yeah. You were muted for a moment. You were talking about the anxiety and of
Oh,
all
okay.
ages.
Yeah, so there was and the anxiety did some of it turned into some OCD behavior, but anxiety was the main force behind a lot of the behaviors and individuals that were coming to see me. You know, the social isolation for the
Mm-hmm.
children was just horrific, and it had a negative impact on, I would say, well, everybody that came to see me. That's why they came to see me, right?
Right, right, right.
But it was also the parents that were feeling anxious, and then that trickled down to the kids who then exhibited anxiety, and that could turn into noncompliance or just skin picking or any other behavior where they're just feeling like they're having a panic attack. Then there was, do we wear the mask? Do we not wear the mask? So then when we didn't have to wear the mask, especially in the state of California, there was a lot of shaming, even though you legally didn't have to wear it. There was shaming for not wearing it. And so then I had people come in, especially young adults who were graduating high school into college, and they said, I know I don't have to wear the mask, but I feel like people are looking at me and that I have to wear the mask. So there's that shaming part of it, that they're getting the anxiety from the mask, not wearing the mask, the social distancing, and not being able to participate in high school graduation or your first year at college, and you have to do everything on the computer, and you're not supposed to go to a party, but then you go to a party, then you get COVID, and then you feel bad. So there's all these different feelings that went along with all of that.
Right. Most recent thing that's coming around now is called cancel culture. Can you explain a little bit of what that really is?
Canceled culture. I'm not 100% sure. Let me look and see, and maybe it's called something else.
I'm only saying because I've heard it through Dr. Phil, and it's kind of a new thing. I think it's close to shaming.
Oh yeah, maybe it is. It says, I'm looking at examples of canceled culture. Let's see, the mass withdrawal of support from public figures or celebrities who have done things that aren't socially. Like getting rid of Aunt Jemima, right? That would be the latest cancel. Right. Okay. Right. So now that I'm looking at it, I think I am concerned with the way that society is going, in that, everybody's going to be, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have gotten rid of Aunt Jemima. I could care less, honestly, if they do or if they don't. To me, it was just like, oh, okay, that's the brand. I didn't really associate it with slavery, but if some people do, then get rid of it if it offends you. My concern with what's going on right now is that everybody's going to be offended by something. We cannot protect everybody's feelings. And the reasoning behind that is, we all grew up with some type of shaming at some point. And so we are going to be triggered throughout our adult life by whatever affected us as a child, especially if we haven't dealt with it in a healthy manner, if we haven't addressed it, talked about it, and, reasoned through it. So I'm not sure where it's going to end. Do we just cancel everything in our culture, or do we take down every statue? Do we write every book? I don't know where it's going to end. I'm not sure.
Okay. The one last question I have for you, Laurie, and this just pops in my head because of the sexual bias that's going on in society as well, with transgenders and the LGBT,
Right.
Yeah. Have you had case studies come to you in reference to, I'm comfortable as a woman instead of being the boy that I am, and have you come across these type of case studies?
We have had some individuals that were transitioning or identifying as, whatever sex they wanted to be. I have also had a case a few years ago where a teenage person came in, and I just felt so compassionate towards this individual because they were just so uncomfortable with their body, and I could really see how they were suffering, and that is not my expertise. And so what I did was I referred that person to who I thought they could benefit from better than myself. So I'm not, we help individuals with other things, and then they can see somebody else for that part of what they're going through. But that's not what I do. But I have.
Yeah, no, I understood that. I thought like I said, because how everything, like the cancel culture I just brought up, and how everything is coming together in and how society is looking at it.
And
Like,
I will say this as far as the pronouns, I'm trying my best. I'm in my 60s, so it's hard for me to get every pronoun right, but I am trying. I try my best. I don't
okay,
always do it.
okay. I'm gonna admit something right now, folks. She does not look like she's in her 60s. If you agree, comment later. She does not. And I'm being truly honest. I think you look like
Well,
you're in
thank
your
you, Joe.
40s. You're welcome. So, but yeah. So, Laurie, I thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything that you want to promote, or that you'd
Well,
like our viewers that eventually will? We have one viewer right now. I don't. They don't. They don't tell me who it is. But is there anything you want to promote, like besides your practice? How
well,
they can reach
I
you?
well, I really well, you can reach me. You can go online and look up the book You're Not Crazy book.com. Get a hold of me, or Laurie SInger Behavioral Services. But what I really want people to know is that a lot of
We lost her for a moment, folks. We'll get her back. Like I said, this is T-Mobile for you.
what's happening. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Anyway,
Right.
I think Joey, I think what an important thing for people to know is that there is hope. And I think a lot of people are so stuck sometimes that they can't see that there is hope. And they also, when they come to see me, they think that they are the worst case. I'm the worst case that you've ever seen. Am I the worst case? And I try to explain to them, I've had a lot of different individuals come into my office, and nothing really shocks me anymore. But they need to understand that they're not always the worst case, and there is hope out there. And that's actually why I wrote the book. So maybe you're not ready to go to see a therapist yet, even if you live in a different city or a different state. The book might help you, or help family members who want to help other people, get you to think about that there are ways that you can change an individual's life that will help them in the future, to live a happier, healthier life.
Okay. And please give the book website again, because that's when it started to cut you off.
Oh, okay. It's You're Not Crazy book.
And it cut her off again.
Com.
All right. So it's you're not crazybook.com.
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then is there another website that we're like if you're in the Camarillo, California area, and you want to look up Laurie, you can go to you can Google her, and she's got a lot of associates that will be happy to help you in any problem that you have within their
scope of practice. Yes.
Yeah, within their practice. So, Laurie, thank you so much for taking your time out, for coming on. And if you ever want to come back on, you know how to reach me. We'll be happy to have you
Joey.
on. All right.
I hope that I've helped some people out there.
We hope so. Well, I know that one person will be happy with an answer that like I said, the anonymous person.
Okay.
All right. But thank you so much, Laurie, for coming on the podcast. Like I said, the door is always open. If you ever want to come back on, just reach out. Say, hey, Joey, something good's coming up, or I'm going to be doing something soon, and I want to promote it. And that door is open. That door will always.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then also in closing, as we're getting finished here, I did set up what's called a wish tender, because what I want to try to do is set up a website again. I had a website a long time ago and couldn't afford it. Is set up a website to where, like our guest Laurie, like if you didn't catch the website for her book, it's on my website, stuff like that. And then When they come on, I'll try to get the podcast onto it so you can watch it, because we're on many platforms. We're on Spotify, we're on Amazon now, and Audible, and everything. So so if you go to wishtender.com/life with Joey Calvo, and you want to make it, you want to be a subscriber that way, there is a subscriber option to it, because I'd like to get that website up just so guests like Laurie can have their practice promoted and their books promoted and everything there as well. Laurie, again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, Joey.
You have yourself a great day. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay cool, especially if you're in Philadelphia, because it's in the 90s. And everybody take care. All right, give me 1 minute.